Well, y'all, this is probably the last Metazoo video I'll be doing on the channel. Uh, Appreciate you clicking on the video. Support the channel, support the store. You guys always do. And you can do so at cnagames.com. cnagames.com. New website, same people. Go support us if you would. But yeah, Metazoo is done. I'm not going to rehash everything else that everybody else has already said. Sorry, the red on these glasses hurt my head, so I gotta take them off and put my regular glasses on. I did want to talk about just a couple things, just tell you guys my perspective. I'm somebody that's worked with Metazoo, talked with Mike pretty, not extensively, but some back and forths. And I just wanted to kind of put out there, and anybody that's holding on to hope, or think this is another sort of a scam or a ruse or something, a publicity thing. No. Let's go back a ways. Now, when Metazoo kicked off, we all know it wasn't a great success. At the time, my business was having some issues with break-ins, thefts, things like that, and Mike was very kind and sent me 2 Kickstarter boxes. Didn't have to do it. Unsolicited. I appreciate him doing that. I didn't have to. It was great. Very nice of him to do that to me. And I opened a box on a stream, and I pulled 2 Mothmen. That was awesome. Mans, whichever. And it was great. I appreciate Mike for what he did. And then after that fact, I talked back and forth with Mike and trying to offer suggestions. He'd ask me some things and ask my perspective. And, I was always pushing for him, and I was asking questions about, if we're worried about pricing and things like that. How am I supposed to sell a high-value priced item in my store? If I put it in my glass display case, it's a brand new kickstarting game. No one knows about it. Somebody walking in, how are they going to know that this game is any good? I need organized play stuff. I need trial decks. I need demos. I need two player starter decks. Things like that. I talked to Mike for forever, trying to get in, years and years, when all this was just starting. And quickly, as the investing people caught wind and it was really starting to take off, and it was a runaway freight train for a lot of things, Mike became less and less interested in working with LGSs, and he was kind of leapfrogging his way into Walmarts and Targets, and of course he was able to do that. And it was always not in his best interest, he seemed to think, that to ever work with game stores. After a while, we saw some semblance of an organized play program, but it was never full-hearted. It was kind of half-assed. You would come out and say, hey, opt in the program, get into this, but it was never just game store focused. It was for influencers and people with channels, and people that were, some of the biggest partners of Metazoo are not game stores. Very few are actual game stores. It's people with YouTube channels and people that are selling the product online and stuff like that, which is fine. But if you wanted, always goes back to, if you want to start a TCG, the only way to do that is to get it into the hands of people that are going to play your game and get invested, associate with the characters, build a rapport with them, and get it out there. Mike never took that seriously. All the advice that I gave him and other people in the hobby gave him, it was ignored or waved away. And, Mike would go on in his Discord, and I talked in Metazoo hours, and I'd ask him questions. I thought very valid, not hard hitting, but not softball stuff. And I would get laughed at, I'd get memed, I'd get ridiculed, and clowned on, and I was like, what am I doing here? What is the point? Why even bother? So I just disengaged completely. I gave up, and Metazoo's finally shown its true form. Like a Mothman in the night, they really have shown that it was never a TCG. This was never meant to be a game to play for players. I'm sorry. If you played Metazoo, you got used. You got used as a vehicle to say, look, we have players playing the game. Look at this is great. We have all these people, and we're going to run tournaments, and we're going to do these towers, and we're going to have a lot of fun doing all this stuff. And you were used to show Walmart's, Targets, all these people that, yes, this was an actual game. You can actually play it. It actually exists. But nobody did, right? Nobody, it never caught on because it never had the fundamental things that you need for a TCG to take off. And it's the backing from the LGSs that are going to sell and solicit your product. It doesn't do you any good to get your stuff in Walmarts and Targets if there's nobody standing right there saying, hey, this is a great new game. Come check it out. It's for kids, it's for grown-ups, it's for adults, it's about cryptids. No one knows what anything is just looking at it on a shelf. You have to have things in LGSs and game stores with people that are going to push your product for you to get that initial start of people interested in the game. If you don't have that, it's dead in the water. It doesn't even matter. But I was ignored, and it was always that way with Mike. It was always cart before the horse, run before I can walk, and that's how we got to where we are now. Somebody probably sat Mike down and said, Mike, Hello Kitty didn't do great. We haven't put out a product in a year other than promos. We can't keep taking people's money. We're going to get in huge trouble here. We have no outlet for this. We just lost all of our artists. We have no outlets. What are we going to do? And Mike is not the type of person that is going to say, here's the plan. He's always been visionary, big brain, Elon Musky type. There's nobody there to do his back work, though. There's nobody there that to actually put the work in and effort. Go on the website. There's nothing there from the past year that's been updated. Since March of last year was the last post they put on there. There may be some products and promo information, things like that, but that's all there is that's on the website. Socials has never been seriously taken care of. Well, we saw for the past 2 weeks, and then all of a sudden, poof, it was gone, right? But that has always been the way with Metazoo. It's all for appearances, it's all for show, and it's for gags. And when something went awry, Mike acted like it was intentional. And that was always one of the weird, quirky things about Metazoo is that they try to act like they were incompetent on purpose. With the minting of the NFTs, right? That have double strikes and are bent up and chipped and things like that. Aha, it's a joke. We don't know what you're doing. It's funny. We're this little baby Kickstarter. We don't know. That's always been the gag with them. And it wasn't feigning incompetence. It was actual incompetence that we now realize, right? And people are saying, is this a rug pull? Absolutely it is. If you've given money to Metazoo and didn't get your product, and it's been 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, that's a rug pull. You got. And maybe it wasn't Mike's intention. Maybe Mike's intention was to do everything that he's ever said. And probably it was. But there's nobody that's ever been there with Mike. Look, Mike, that's a great idea. That's really cool, man. But how? How are we going to do this? No one's ever stopped him. No one's tried to ever do any actual backwork to this business and brand. And that's why we're where we're at. Somebody finally put their foot down and said, Mike, we have no money. We have no products. We're in trouble. And that's where we're at now. So that is what happened with Metazoo. And all these people think, oh, it's a gag, it's a ruse, it's all this. Oh God, it still hurt my head. I'm sorry. It's all fake. It's all anybody holding out hope. It's not a real thing. It is a classic example when a business is failing that they go back and months and months beforehand, you kind of get these warning signs, these things of not responding to emails, saying, hey, what's the specific thing about this? Hey, what's going on with this? And they don't respond to you. There's no correspondence. There's no socials. There's nothing being posted on websites. They are in a frenzy, in panic mode, trying to get things and some semblance of feet underneath themselves when they're trying to run and catch up in a hamster wheel. It's classic textbook stuff when Rudy says, They haven't talked to me. I tried to reach out to Mike. He didn't respond. There's nothing to respond about because there's no specifics to give because it's all big brain ideas and no actions behind it. So that's why people are like, well, maybe they pulled it down and because they're going to try it. Mike and all the companies' last holdout is that somebody will be stupid enough to come along and buy that. But there's nothing there to buy. No, Bandai's not going to buy it. That is the craziest, stupidest thing I've ever heard. Bandai will never buy it. Bandai is a pachinko and Gundam kit and very, very small TCG. Their TCG business is a very small percentage of what their actual overlarge Bandai Namco's business is, right? For a large portion of their profits, it's physical Gundams for physical products and then pachinko machines. That's what they do. That's their money makers. So they don't care about another failing TCGs. They already have 3 of them. Battle Spirits, Digimon, Dragon Ball Super. They already have dead TCGs. They don't need another one. And they're not going to pay money for it, for sure. So any sort of idea of saving that company is not going to happen. So that's... Mike put it out there because he was frustrated. He was like, look, we're done. I have no outlets left. There's nothing else. There's no more levers to pull. There's nothing else I can do for money for this business. We're done. We're out. We have no way of operating. And then they pulled it down in hopes that somebody would come along and buy it. That's all that could ever possibly be for that. Because no one's going to pay money for a dead company. So you pull it down, act like, oh, never mind. We're cool. No operations are happening. You're a shell. You're a name on the front of a billboard, on the front of a building, but it's empty on the inside. No one's going to buy a dead company. So that's the reality of what's up with Metazoo. There's no hope for it. It's never been a TCG, guys. It's never been that way. It's never been the focus. Mike, as good as intentions that he may have had from the beginning, I'm not saying it was a total sham from the beginning. I will not say that. But we are so far along. We are in such a big hole that he never had anything behind him that was actually capable of running a TCG, as capable of the logistics around getting product out on time, in a timely manner, and for all the great ideas that he's had, and all the great yarns he was able to spin, and all the great strings he pulled to get Sanrio, and Walmart and Target, and Arby's, and all these companies that said, yeah, okay, yeah, give us something and we'll do it, sure. There's never any action behind it. And that's the real issue. And the saddest part about Metazoo is that the game will not be remembered. In 2-3 years, nobody's going to remember it was a game. No one cares. They're going to use Metazoo as an example of what a runaway, FOMO, just pointless product could come out with no fundamentals, no real strategy, no real business plan of operation. And that people would still go get behind it, buy into it, invest, all those things. And it's going to be seen as a rug pull. And it's a shame. If Mike was really a real dude with passion and actually wanted to do this, and I want to say that he was, he just wasn't great at the execution of it. And that's the saddest part. And that's what the legacy of Metazoo will be, is that it was a rug pull FOMO machine that had no substance. And that sucks. Appreciate y'all watching. That's my thoughts on Metazoo. I'll see you guys in the next one. Okay.